Hello and welcome back to Israel with Aline. Today we are in the north of Israel, more specifically in the Jezreel Valley, because we are going to explore together the spring of Gideon, where God will test the soldiers of the people of Israel. So if you are ready, let's get started. Gideon was one of the great heroes of the Bible, and he was chosen by God to defend Israel in a very difficult and complicated period. The people of Israel start to err in their ways, and God as punishment sends them oppressors, in this case the Midianites. For 7 years the Midianites oppressed the people of Israel, and more than that, they stole the provisions. The people of Israel were starving and also becoming impoverished. And so the people prayed to God, and God will hear the prayers and choose a new judge, who is Gideon. Let's go together now to know his story. One day Gideon was in Ophrah preparing wheat hidden from the Midianites so they wouldn't steal the little food they had, and then an angel appears to him. Then the Lord looked at him and said, "Go in this thy strength, and thou shalt deliver Israel from the hands of the Midianites. Have not I sent thee?" And he said unto him, "Alas, my Lord, wherewith shall I save Israel? Behold, my family is the poorest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house." And the Lord said to him, "Because I will be with you, you will strike the Midianites as if they were one man." And when the angel tells Gideon that he has been chosen, what will be Gideon's reaction? He doesn't believe it. Why me? He is not from an important family, a well-known family. They are even an extremely poor family. They are the poorest family in all of Manasseh, and he is the smallest of his entire house. So God does not choose him for his physical appearance, nor for his wealth, nor for the family he came from, but God chooses him for his character and courage, because this courage would be very necessary for the battles. And we precisely see that God sometimes chooses simple people. Later in biblical history, we also remember David, precisely a young boy from a family that was not important, and the youngest brother of many brothers will be chosen. So, remember this, even the youngest brother, who at that time was considered less important, can be chosen by God to do great things. And God commands Gideon to destroy the altar of Baal, which was his father's, and build an altar to him, to God, in the same place. See this, his own father had a pagan altar to Baal. Exactly this type of altar and this type of worship were one of the reasons the people were punished by God. But even with his father's mistakes, Gideon will not be diminished in the eyes of God, because his faith will not be shaken. And he destroys the altar of Baal, which was an affront to the people who believed in him at that time. And that's why his name will be changed to Jerubbaal, which in Hebrew is Yerubbaal, which means Baal will contend. But meanwhile, the enemies of Israel were getting stronger and stronger. And the Midianites, along with the Amalekites and the sons of the east, continued to rob and oppress Israel, and they camped nearby, also within the valley of Jezreel. And now it's time for us to continue our tour and get closer to Gideon's spring and find out how the people of Israel are going to win this battle that seemed impossible. And the first thing Gideon needed for the battle was soldiers. and he's going to blow the shofar, which is this trumpet, to summon the men from his city. And with messengers, he gathered the soldiers from 4 of the 12 tribes of Israel, which were Manasseh, Asher, Zebulun, and Naphtali. And all these men gather here next to the spring of HAROD. And Gideon was ready for battle, or at least he thought so. He had thousands of soldiers ready to fight, and the Midianites and the Amalekites and their enemies were here in the valley of Jezreel, very close. But God says no. Why? Because if at this moment you go out and win the battle, you will say that you won the war, that it was the people of Israel who were strong and won. But God wants all the people to know that it was God Himself who granted this victory. And that's why He wants to reduce the number of soldiers. And the first test, if you can call it that, will really be a test of fear. He says, all of you who are afraid of the battle, go home. If you don't have full confidence that God will grant this victory, don't even fight. And 22,000 soldiers go home. But there are still 10,000 soldiers, which is not a small number. And that's why God sends another test. And Gideon with all his soldiers are here next to this spring. And Gideon orders all the soldiers to go down to drink water, and the way they are going to drink water will be the way it will be decided whether they will go to battle or not. So now let's all go down and drink some water. Let's go. The soldiers will arrive here at the water source, and there are 2 ways they can drink water. The first is to literally kneel down and prostrate and drink the water directly, with their face in the water. It's written in the Bible, lapping like a dog. So there's the option to lap up like a dog, literally sticking your face in the water. And the second option is to scoop up the water and drink it by bringing your hand to your mouth. 300 soldiers will raise their hands and drink the water, and all the rest, almost 10,000 soldiers, will stoop and lap the water like a dog. And God then chooses precisely these 300 soldiers, and He made the people go down to the waters. So the Lord said to Gideon, anyone who laps the water with his tongue, as a dog laps, you shall set apart, as well as anyone who kneels down to drink. And the number of those who lapped, bringing their hand to their mouth, was 300 men. And all the rest of the people knelt down to drink the water. But why do they select the soldiers in this way? Because at that time, the people of Israel had a big problem. A problem of idolatry. Part of the people worshipped other gods. They literally prostrated themselves to other gods. So those who were used to prostrating themselves, they drank water like dogs. And that's why God didn't want anyone who didn't have 100% faith in God. And only 300 people passed this test. And these 300 soldiers will face a gigantic army. And the Midianites, the Amalekites, and all the sons of the east lay in the valley like locusts in multitude. And their camels were innumerable like the sand on the seashore. And Gideon and his soldiers went out to battle with trumpets, torches, and empty jars. I know it seems kind of strange and nonsensical, but it was a brilliant strategy. So they blew the trumpets and broke the jars, and they had in their left hands the lit torches, and in their right hands the trumpets, to blow and shout, "Sword of the Lord and of Gideon." Then the whole army began to run and shouting, "Fled! Fled!" So when the 300 blew the trumpets, the Lord turned every man's sword against his comrade and threw out the whole camp. They used the noise of the trumpets and the breaking jars to scare their enemies, who began to attack each other and flee. And then the other soldiers of Israel were called to pursue the Midianites. See, indeed, God gives a second chance. Even those who did not pass the water test now will be able to join the fight. And see how clear and clean waters are here to this day. All of this here is fresh water. And it's enough for a large number of soldiers to come drink here. And it's rare to see such a large spring in Israel. And we are at Gideon's spring, the spring where this great test was conducted. A great little test, one might say, because the people of that time were performing these actions without realizing it. For many of these soldiers, the idolatry and worship of Baal was so deeply rooted within them that they didn't realize it. Gideon's own father had an image. He had an altar to Baal, which obviously, as we've already mentioned, Gideon is going to break. But this will be a test to separate, and only those who truly had full faith in God were chosen to battle in His name. So let's also take note of the small things, our small acts in everyday life that influence our connection with God so much. Gideon's source is here to this day, as we see, and much has changed. Here is no longer a battle zone. We are in a very peaceful and quiet zone. And as you can see, this place from a place of wars and battles has turned into a place for families. And families come here to enjoy these beautiful waters. But despite the tranquility of today, we can never forget what happened here in the past. So we walk in Israel, we open the pages of the Bible, and even in places that seem so peaceful, there is so much hidden history. But one very important thing that I need to tell you, that very close to here, there is another water source, which is smaller than this one, but that some people believe that maybe there was the water test. And these are the images that we are seeing here now. If you liked today's video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more wonderful trips in the pages of the Bible and the pages of Israel. A big kiss, and see you next time.